The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Broadcasters Podcast. Here is the King of Podcasts.
And congratulations to go out to the Screen Actors Guild / American Federation of Television and Radio Artists for successfully defending their right to better pay, better residuals for streaming, AI issues, and so much more, as they and the Alliance of Motion Picture and TV Producers have finally ended the 118-day strike, the longest in Hollywood history. Finally is over. The story came out Wednesday night, and that the strike would officially end 12:01 a.m. Thursday, or as I'm officially still recording Thursday, it's done. So the union and their negotiating committee approved the deal on a unanimous vote, and now the agreement goes to the National Board for approval on Friday. So the two sides spent the last several days putting the finishing touches on the deal, which will see the first ever protections for actors against artificial intelligence and a historic pay increase. The deal will see most minimums increased by 7%, 2% above the increases for the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild of America in their current negotiations that they already had, and they're long held outs for getting this right with the Hollywood studios. The deal also includes a streaming participation bonus, according to an email sent to SAG-AFTRA members, and increases in pension and health contributions. The contract is worth more than $1 billion in total. There's a lot more that's already been given out in the last 24 hours as to what is in the deal. And when our show's coming back, Hollywood has to get back up and going. And now we have to get the film markers out there. Let's say, speed, lights, camera, action. Let's start filming again. Let's start getting production back on some shows that have been waiting to get back, and so much more. Everybody is all set up. And I want to commend the Hollywood labor unions for a fight they had to have. You understand, I've been covering this extensively. I don't know any other podcasts that were out there that spent as much time as I did when it came to this story and knowing that everything was going to happen here. We went through all of it extensively. Remember, I went back to 2019 when the Writers Guild was able to go ahead and basically break up the Association of Talent Agencies, right? Because the Writers Guild did not want to do franchising anymore. No more packaging. No more bundling writer, screenwriter, screenplay, director, and the rest of the crew into projects. You can't just clump them up. The talent agencies lost that right because the Writers Guild stuck to their guns and said, no, we're going to stay on this. And this is going to change. And it's over. And it happened. And as I said, this was the right time for it to happen. May 5th, I did the show and I talked about Hollywood halting production protests from the Writers Guild picket lines. Episode 276. That's how far back I go on this. Then the directors, that was episode 280 on June 2nd. And then the actors. On June 30th, I did that episode 284. And I continue to stay on top of this. We regularly did updates on this and what would become of it. The issue with content creators. And if they didn't do this and step up. And then the call out in September, studios need to go and step up because, the Labor Day deadline. They thought, okay, the Labor Day deadline, that's probably when we'll get everything else squared away. And we just give them what we normally give them, the bare minimum. And no, they couldn't do it this time. They had to stand their ground. There was no other choice. They had to stand their ground and do it. And they did. And I commend them for that. It's a wonderful thing to see. It was finally what needed to happen for all of them to get themselves together. And Hollywood had to come out. The studios had to go ahead and come out. First for the Writers Guild. They had to represent themselves. When the Alliance couldn't do it for them, their representation couldn't get it done. The studio heads had to come to the bargaining table and really talk. Then it was just a matter of time for the writers got done. And then it was, again, September, we got it done for the writers. Now, About 6 weeks later, the actors wrap it up too. And they got just about everything they wanted. As they were able to budge, like you're doing a car dealer trying to get the right price. You budge as far as you can, and then finally, I'm doing it right now trying to get a car. Same thing. Budging, trying to get the lowest deal possible, waiting out to the end of the year when, the studios absolutely have to go ahead and get this done because their season, the 2024 season, the award season, the fall season of content, and holding back on all these projects that had to be go ahead and pushed back and shuffled, the studios couldn't hold on anymore. Now, remember, the studios thought they could go ahead and basically sweat out the talent, the writers, all of them. They thought they could just hold them off. So Labor Day, there's your hard deadline. That passed. And everybody stayed on the picket lines. Everybody stayed in solidarity for the most part. Very little struck. And anybody that did go striking, that tried to cross picket lines, Drew Barrymore, she might not come out of this too well. Could have waited a few more months, but the new fall season was coming, and she probably got pressured by her production company. We need to get these shows off the syndicators because stations, affiliates need programming. They need new programming. They were promised it, so she probably got pressured. Probably wasn't paying attention to that, and moved along. And there we go. Even though they shouldn't have SAG-AFTRA staff or any Writers Guild staff, but, there was a problem with that. This is a big win for them. A major victory from everything that goes on. So let's get into what actually happened. I'm going to take for The Guardian about what the deal is. Agent Horton reports on this. This is from earlier this afternoon, but like I said, this is more of a detailed idea of what happens here. So let's break it down. Again, to summarize, notable agreements on minimum pay, streaming-based bonuses, and consent and compensation guarantees for the use of AI likenesses. They secured major concessions from studios, a capitulation by Hollywood's biggest companies, New York Times reported, and a stark reversal for studio heads who assumed the unions would be relatively compliant and reaching a deal. Well, many other times they would. But you brought streaming in since the last deal came into play 4 years ago. 2019, you didn't have the pandemic and all these changes that happened. Listen, the pandemic obviously was a catalyst for what happened here. And because of the panic of the studios to move forward, change, and start tinkering with the movie day and date exhibition window, number one. Then escalating, getting their content, all their original content, the quality content, pushing it off from cable, pushing it off from network, and moving it right to streaming. And then amplifying the amount of content because Netflix was eating their ass, chewing them out. So all these studios said, well, we got to do something about it. And remember, we had all of them. Right? We had the Quibbies of the world crash and burn. Discovery Plus now move up to Warner Brothers because of the merger. Then HBO Max to become Max. Then Peacock having to make constant changes, put more content for themselves. Paramount Plus, kind of just squeaking around. And Disney Plus, who made big promises of how many subscribers they were going to get. Oh, it's Disney. Come on. But you know what? Disney has not been having a good reputation. And you can talk all you want about the narrative that they've been putting out there, socially. Right. The political kind of stuff you can talk about. I'm not talking about that here. But we will say the movies, they're not resonating well. They've taken a bath on a number of movies this year. And the subscriber base is fluctuating. That's not even where it needs to be. But the third quarter, all these studios took, got some good returns. But remember, that's because they were cutting off all the things that were not dealing to deal with because the actors and writers were on strike. So yeah, they made a little extra money, doing a little bit of cost cutting, a little bit of cutting out of certain projects, and unloading some things they could try to do, and not having to pay paychecks. Well, that kind of helps as well, right? So we've seen the actual effects of what happened from it, but the studios were already still going to hurt. They couldn't wait anymore. They had to get done. So here's what The Guardian says. Now, for both actors and writers, negotiations represented a once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity to address what were seen as existential threats to their careers. The future of AI in Hollywood, the brutal economics of the floundering streaming economy, which could deliver massive audience hits, whether new or old, with little compensation for creatives. There are still, but everything's all done. But most likely, the deal is ratified. 160,000 strong membership are going ahead with it. So now it's just got to get done. So what we know so far is this, according to The Guardian. AI emerged as the biggest sticking point for the actors, particularly for the negotiator. Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the chief negotiator for SAG-AFTRA, said studios that propose a day's pay to use extras' digital likenesses in perpetuity without consent and compensation. That pissed some people off. When I remember reading about that, I was like, damn, that is nasty. They decided to go and do that. The union pushed back on a clause that would have allowed studios to pay to use higher earning performance likeness after their death without consent by their estates or SAG-AFTRA, according to the union sources speaking to The Hollywood Reporter. So now, studios, they surrendered. You're not going to win that fight. You're not going to. And by the way, Hollywood, fought hard to try to keep the original system alive and just push to the bare minimum. But for the actors, if they don't do this, their livelihood was all at risk. And this was a big risk for them because, like I said, when this started, the content creators, they were going to try to take advantage of this. And the studios, at some point, were going to probably say, you know what, we can take those Charlie D'Amelios, Addison Rays, and all these other people. Maybe we can go ahead and put them in, acting roles and see if we can put them in programming. That's not going to work. But there could have been more people as a result of all this that probably would go ahead and go more to streaming. And not even streaming so much about older shows, but just going to social media and watching other content on YouTube, TikTok, whatever. We already know younger audiences are starting to engage more in watching TikTok or watching Instagram or just staying on social media all day, all night. And not even thinking about going to watch any long form content, whether it's a movie, a sitcom, a TV show, anything like that. Now, Crabtree Ireland confirmed to Rolling Stone that the deal requires studios to obtain consent for actors for specific use of their AI likenesses. The Writers Union secured similarly groundbreaking protections for their contract in September, allowing writers to use AI with permission, but establishing guardrails to prevent AI from replacing human jobs or labor. Both contracts will shape Hollywood's already burgeoning relationship with generative AI to come. The ChatGPT stuff came out last year, and that just shocked people. That was the first indicator that said, this is a bigger fight. And SAG-AFTRA, listen, credit to Duncan Crabtree Ireland, credit to Fran Drescher. Everybody was smart on this. They fought hard. They dug in. This was the right move for them. They had to get everything they wanted as much as possible this time around. They couldn't wait anymore. The timing was there. It was just, you held these studios over the coals because you had to. You just can't take what they just give you and it's just easy. Now, you can go back to that again for a while. But remember, in 2007, we started having the problem where, the streaming was going on and that was all changing up. When there were other things that were happening, changing up what the internet was going to do at that time for the writers. But in 100 days, the actors never had to go on strike. They never did. So they went along. But we're going to get to this another time. There'll be something else that the digital disruption does that will cause another strike like this, but probably not as long as this. But right now, we're not going to get this now. Studios gave in. This is for the good of Hollywood. If Hollywood wanted to survive, they had no choice but to do this here. So the rest of the deal, compensation. It's going to be worth $1 billion over 3 years. Is secured above pattern minimum wage increases. The Guild asked for an 11% increase in the first year. Crabtree Ireland didn't reveal the exact number, but told Rolling Stone the union achieved a number that was significantly above the standard 5%, which we've learned is 7% for them. The union was unsuccessful in securing a share of revenue from each streaming platform, which was another contention because of the streaming residuals. Because the studios with these streaming services and Netflix, and first of all, don't want to give out their numbers. They don't want to give out subscriber numbers. They don't want to give out individual performance of programming. They'll just give you some basic stuff, basic hours watched, but they didn't want to break it down because that would expose them. Drescher made this a top priority, arguing it was essential to get into the pocket of streaming revenue in order for actors to sustain a livelihood in the streaming era. Now, with the Writers Guild, they did this deal where streaming shows will receive 100% of their existing residual as a bonus. Successful streaming shows. And a show that's successful is deemed what attracts views equivalent to 20% of a company's subscriber base within 90 days. Actors will only receive a portion of that money. The rest will go to a fund jointly administered by employers and union for distribution to actors on a range of streaming shows, not just the most popular ones. And the hybrid model is supposed to work similarly to the potential revenue sharing proposal, which much less money to distribute. And union leadership expressed disappointment over the concession, but Crabtree Allen said the net result will be a wider distribution of money to more members. You know, to try to get more that they're going to get out of the streamers. Well, the streamers still have clout because all the major media companies decided to invest in streaming heavily. So now streaming is where everybody's going. And there's no choice now but to give in to the studios on that respect because they haven't had to go and break down all of this. But here's the thing. As the studios now are all doing streaming and they're all offering ad-supported buys, right? Ad-supported subscriptions. Wait until you see the advertisers that come on board streaming significantly and start putting some serious ad dollars. They're all going to have their agencies ask and say, hey, what's the numbers? We don't care what the actors and writers are asking for their bonuses. We're asking about the price you're going to charge us for advertising based on what your real numbers are. Nielsen gives us that kind of stuff. Will Nielsen have to come in and intervene on the streaming services eventually? Because cable and network have had that for years. Is there going to have to be a metric system that's going to eventually be put in place so that advertisers are going to feel good about spending money on their platforms? That's going to happen because the streaming services are not going to just rely on just some simple, advertising like YouTube does or anybody else. Streaming needs to do something where they're going to be able to get significant advertisers in to really prop up, because if they're going to try to take the subscriptions, the pricing they're getting in on that, the money they're getting in on that, and the ad revenue, they need to be making ad revenue just like the free networks and all these companies that run these streaming services. They're going to expect more money off advertising than they do the subscriptions. They're not going to want to rely on subscription money because they know subscribers are going to drop off. And the more they do is the more the prices go up. Let me tell you, when Netflix jacks that price up to $23, that's a big ask. I don't care how good Netflix is. I'm one of the people that don't worry about Netflix being on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. But you're going to want me to go and pay for the premium, which if I'm going to get streaming, I only want the premium unless there's a way to get around it. Like Peacock, I have the ad supported, but because I only watch the WWE product, right? I watch the pay-per-views, but that's it. And I watch, Monday Night Football or, Sunday Night Football, right? And other sports. That's pretty much all I watch Peacock for. But I get my $5-6 a month worth it every month on that. But for those who want to pay the higher price, at some point that price will go up because everybody else is going to go up. Hulu's going up. Disney Plus is going up because Netflix did. Netflix is the gauge of everybody else. And once they do that, then the priority on advertising is going to be increased. And for them to get serious ad money to play ball, the ad agencies are going to nickel and dime these streamers to pony up their numbers. So they got a real gauge as to, it's just like ratings. Just like rating sweeps. November, February, May, they're going to want to know how much are the rates for the ads. You're going to have to weigh it off of something. You're not going to make it out of thin air. You can't do it. Now, SAG-AFTRA is going to go to approve this deal in a meeting on Friday, all but guaranteed. As for viewers, there's a lot that's going on. Not much change in the near future for theatrical content. Studios already pushed a number of completed big-name titles, which is Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2, Luca Guadagnino's Challengers to 2024. Yeah, Dune moved to March. Should have been running this month, but production should be resuming quickly for a number of tentpole films. Release dates in 2024 and beyond were in flux. So we have the 2-part Wicked film adaptation, Deadpool 3, Venom 3, and favorite TV shows like Abbott and Elementary, Yellow Jackets, and The White Lotus. The strikes and mean your favorite celebrities will be back on the promotional trail just in time for award season. So for Bradley Cooper and his movie Maestro, in which he both directs and stars as Leonard Bernstein, as well as the cast of Oppenheimer and Barbie, the summer blockbusters are seeking awards clout. Late night shows can start booking actors to speak directly about their projects. Timothée Chalamet, already scheduled to host Saturday Night Live this weekend through a network code agreement, is now free to actually mention he's starring in Wonka, which is coming up in Christmas season. Red carpets, press junkets now for 4 months, with the exception of individual films given waivers, which were Sofia Coppola's Priscilla and The Hunger Games: A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, will now return for holiday season releases. Dates for next year's major award shows: Golden Globes will be back in January as planned. The Emmys were scheduled for mid-September, but they will take place now January 15th, 2024. So award season is going to go stack at the start of the year. More information they had about the shows coming back. Let's bring that back up. As we said, a couple of shows are already coming back. And what we have so far is, when they talk about Deadpool 3, the film was reportedly 50% complete at the time, will now be the first to rush back into production. Variety claims it will start shooting before Thanksgiving, and reports suggest it might struggle to meet the May 2024 release date, but it's possible late summer bow might be more likely. Gladiator 2. So Ridley Scott will be doing his follow-up, and the film stars Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal. Now it's going to be restarted as soon as possible, which will be bad news for the second season of Last of Us with Pascal. Like many actors, forced to prioritize projects that are already in production. In a New Yorker profile, Ridley Scott revealed that he used his downtime to create an extended cut of his upcoming Napoleon biopic while also editing completed Gladiator 2 footage. Well, good for Ridley Scott to, keep working. That's good. Wonka. So as we said, the trailer now suggesting a Christmas release will be more suitable. Chalamet already announced he is hosting Saturday Night Live, and he's going to be able to go ahead and promote the movie. The White Lotus, the TV show, has been pushed to 2025 as a result of both strikes, but Mike White, who's the showrunner for the show, already said he will seriously finish his scripts, teasing a new season set in Thailand will be longer, bigger, crazier. So production starts beginning 2024. Actor strike is out of the way. Casting news will soon follow. Beetlejuice 2. Michael Keaton went on a writer. Catherine Hare will be coming back to do this Wednesday. Jenna Ortega will be the new lead, the new Winona Ryder character. And the Warners had a date for September 2024. Still seen as doable, given Burton has already said the film is 99% done. We talked about Maestro. Bradley Cooper was brief red carpet appearances. The lack of a director's strike technically freed him to promote it, but the actor's strike made it close to impossible maze to figure out. But now Cooper can go a PR blitz, do for your consideration events, secure major interviews, more eyes on his story, and attachment to Bernstein, pushing him as a major Oscar contender. We're talking about Adam and Venom Elementary will be coming back, expected to begin at some point in 2024. And then Venom 3. The movie stars with Tom Hardy, Juno Temple, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and the sequel is expected to move to London now that the strike's over. Film was dated for next July, but just this week. Sony now moved it to a November 2024 release, so it can be manageable that production can resume. Now, the only thing I'm really worried about is that if we're going to have all these movies coming back and back into production, and they're going to try to hurry up to get to their dates, that they hopefully do not rush and make mistakes. Don't do what Marvel does with their CGI. Don't do that. Wicked, we talked about. Composer Steven Schwartz said that there were just 10 days left of production when the strike happened. And the director wrote on social media, we're only a few days away from being done, so we're so close. The film stars Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo, already been split into 2 parts. The first aiming to release in November 2024. Now, as from Guardian, there's more to go into this. Now, some other projects have already gotten exemptions when it comes to, doing premieres and doing award season. Michael Mann's upcoming racing drama Ferrari. Now, Adam Driver, Patrick Dempsey are now able to attend the Venice Film Festival. And Dempsey can do an interview with People when they name him the sexiest man alive. I'm sorry, Patrick Dempsey, sexiest man alive. How old is this guy? McDreamy? Like, you don't want to get him when he was like in his heyday at Grey's Anatomy? He's 57 years old. And by the way, he's been on Grey's Anatomy since 2005. You're telling me you couldn't have waited? Like, he was like super hot 2007, 2008. He did Maid of Honor. He did Enchanted. You're telling me that 15 years ago you couldn't have made him that role? Are you serious? You couldn't have made him like now he is? So odd. I don't know. So that's really weird, but okay. When it comes to the network TV may move fast, but it'll still be a while till you see scripted shows on all the networks. Streaming services, cable networks have a longer lead time for their shows, so you might have seen a subtle decline in the number of premiering shows, but the pipeline's already started to dry up. Streamers and networks have delayed the release of completed series like FX's Fargo to stretch out their schedule and fill gaps, and there'll be a gap in new shows in early 2024, reflecting the prolonged strike. And gaps will keep coming and make a very lean year in 2024 as production slowly ramps up. And the wait times will be long for some highly anticipated titles. Biggest mix of productions like Stranger Things was supposed to start filming their 5th and final season just after the writer's strike started. Now it's going to take a very long time. It needs post-production work, complex post-production work, CGI. It won't see its new season until 2025. Yeah, are people going to wait around for the 5th season when the 4th season was actually just a decent way to finish, honestly? Like, do we need to get to the 5th season? No, not necessarily. And let's look at what had happened in terms of the movies that got all delayed. Disney postponed the release of James Cameron's Avatar series, Avatar 3, to December 19, 2025. Avatar 4, December 21, 2029. And Avatar 5 to December 19, 2031. I mean, we're going up 8 years? Wow. Marvel reshuffled the cinematic universe. Captain America Brave New World is July 26th next year. Thunderbolts, December 20th, 2024. Blade, February 14th, 2025. Dune, we already moved to March 2024. Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire, a month later to April 2024. Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, now slated for December 13th, 2024. Kraven the Hunter goes to Labor Day weekend. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, off the release calendar for now. The untitled sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I just saw the name of it, I can't remember it. And then Oscar hopefuls, challengers, and the bike riders were also delayed to allow actors to promote them. I think bike riders is still scheduled for December, right? Or is that moved? Actors can come back to talk at shows and premieres. You're going to see all those coming back together, whatever. But right now, everything should be done with that. SAG-AFTRA Writers Guild now have contracts in place for the next 3 years. Now, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, which is also including Broadway, their deal ends in 2024. So we might still see something about this going down the line anyway. So keep an eye on that. More news that comes out of Deadline, talking about all the changes that are of shows coming back. More information about that. Broadcast networks are running out of time to produce meaningful seasons of scripted series. With mid-season premiere dates to hit, cable and streaming, whose filming was paused due to the strikes, will begin prep as soon as possible. So, returning series needs about 3 to 6 weeks of prep and pre-production. So, with the Thanksgiving holiday around the corner, filming on the first broadcast shows can start by the end of November or the start of December. The earliest date already claimed by Wolf Entertainment Series is November 27th, right after Thanksgiving. So, allowing a series to produce 13 episodes, which would fit within the broadcast season. Deadline reported last week that Chicago and Law & Order franchises on NBC, the FBI trio for CBS, are poised to deliver 13 episodes this season. So you're going to actually get a shortened season on all these channels. So all the Chicagos, all the Law & Orders, all the FBIs are coming back in the spring. They're going to have enough time to do it. Good. And the beginning of January would also start work for some shows to be able to produce 10 episodes, airing before the end of the season in May. First writers' rooms opened October 2nd. And World Older Productions filming could start as soon as 5 weeks into a writer's room. As virtually all returning broadcast series are starting prep immediately, some shows are expected to return to production. First include Grey's Anatomy of Criminal Minds, Evolution, 911, Tracker for CBS, Night Court for NBC, E1's The Rookie, which is produced with ABC, NCIS and Ghosts for CBS, and all the Wolf Entertainment Universal TV dramas that consume everything on TV anyway, and network TV. Other series that shut down production when the writer's strike started that was on fast track to resume: Max's Hacks, The Penguin, Welcome to Derry, Peacock's Hysteria, FX's The Old Man, and MTV Entertainment Studios and 101 Studios are expecting to ramp up final episodes of Yellowstone and the new season of Mayor of Kingstown. And 2 shows shooting in France, Netflix's Emily in Paris, Amazon's upcoming Étoile, had to delay production. Emily in Paris was expected to go ahead and come out in January for season 4. Étoile's been penciled to February, filming as both series have to navigate the Paris Summer Olympic Games. As some cable streaming services are missing their designated filming window because of the strikes, some have been granted permission to do a movie without interim agreement during the strike that may be filming, also causing production schedules to be rearranged. So, what we expect, the spring's going to have 10 to 13 episodes for all those shows. They're going to be able to get that done. And some new scripted series that were slated to debut this season will get pushed. With the exception of Elsbeth and Tracker, all these other shows that were planning to go and come out for spring 2024 will now launch in 2024-2025 season, according to Deadline. Are we all caught up right now? That's it. That's all of it. Now we know where the TV shows are. The actors, they got to figure out where they're going to get themselves back on board, because now all these shows have to get themselves back up. And someone will be able to go and get their award shows, get credit for their awards, get a chance to be nominated, get a chance to win said awards, and get all that done. That's another part that's coming on right now. All right, let's move along to some other things that are going on. This is one thing that was kind of weird. So remember a couple of months ago, what was it? Batgirl. And I was really pissed off that we didn't get to see Batgirl. I wanted to see that. Remember August 5th, 2022, we talked about Batgirl going into hiding because for tax write-off purposes, HBO Max and Discovery said, no, we're going to never let anybody watch the movie. Why? But they did. That was part of the DCEU debacle, by the way. And then the MCU debacle we talked about previously on the program. That's where we're at. So now Warner Brothers also decides to put another movie and write it off. A fully completed Coyote vs. Acme, a Warner Brothers Looney Tunes cartoon. The live-action animation hybrid Coyote vs. Acme, based on a character created by Chuck Jones, the animation legend. It was greenlit for streaming on Max, but turned out well enough to be considered for theatrical release. So Warner Brothers Discovery is going to take an estimated $30 million write-down on the $60 to $80 million film to never run it. They also last year took a write-off for Scoob Holiday Hunt and the straight to streaming live-action film Batgirl. So the movie tested extremely well with audiences. It's not even going to be offered to companies, even though Amazon was interested in acquiring it for a streaming service. So the tax write-off is more valuable to Warner Brothers than any potential third-party pickup. What? I would have gone to see that movie. What are you doing? And in the movie, Wile E. Coyote sues Acme as regular weapons supplier for his consistently malfunctioning products, and the film expanded the story to include a down-on-his-luck human attorney who takes on Wally as a client and then learns that his former boss at another law firm, played by John Cena, represents Acme. I would have loved this movie. What are you doing? What are you doing? I would have watched this movie. Why do you take movies like this away from me? No, I'm lucky I got a couple of movies to watch this weekend. I'm going to go watch The Marvels this weekend. I'm going to see if I can watch The Holdovers. Maybe I can get that in as well. I'm thinking about it. I'll figure it out. But damn, why did you do that? And there were some people that actually called the film that Dave Green, the director, they make the point this is one of the best of its kind since Robert E. Rabbit. This would have been really good. One of the reviews. The leads are super likable. It's beautifully shot. The animation is great. The ending makes everyone fucking cry. I thought the goal of this business was to make hit movies. This makes me feel insane. It's based on a huge IP. It's a crowd pleaser. What are we even doing anymore? I don't even know how we've gone from the Battle of Brazil to extremely effective commercial movies being deleted for tax purposes. This shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't be allowed to go and shelve a movie like that and all that money. Why didn't they want to go ahead and put it out and get the money back? I don't understand. And by the way, somebody else writes and talks about watching the movie, saying this is insane. First of all, fuck a business model that incentivizes this. Second, the movie is great. I was looking to get to see some of it, and it was hilarious. And with the disgusting turn of events, especially with a huge gaping role in the release calendar. Crew members you worked on the film posted a reel of the behind-the-scenes footage of the first production in New Mexico. I'm going to just play a little bit of this, but I'm going to also have to go and probably cut out the noise because I can't necessarily go through it. But anyway, some of the crew reels are already here, and I can see some of the shooting for it and what it looked like. I don't know if we get a chance to actually look at any of the actual... Well, we didn't see any of the animation. I guess we couldn't see that part. But it looked good. I mean, hell, there's one picture they show where, oh man, Wile E. Coyote does try to hit the detonator and it blows up on him. Like, man, what are you doing? It looked good. Fucking people, man. Let me tell you what. Pissing me off. Now let's get to some other news. Okay. I talked about last week or was it last week or the week before? Oh no, it was last week where I talked about all the problems with the Marvels and the Marvel universe being maligned. Well, now the story comes out. CNBC says the Marvels is probably headed for the worst MCU box office openings ever. Initial predictions were $75 to $80 million. Remember we said it was this was a $1 billion movie the first time around. $1 billion movies, and this is what they're predicting. The only MCU movies that have opened lower were Ant-Man in 2015 and Incredible Hulk in 2008. Disney and Marvel Studios struggled to reconnect with audiences in the post-Endgame era. But wow, that's bad. The Marvels thought, they would be building on the box office success of Guardians of the Galaxy. So the Marvels is going to feel like Blue Beetle and The Flash all over again. What a shitty year for superhero movies. What a shitty year. And Aquaman also is going to probably tank as well. It's going to drown in the box office too. Because of how that's not even part of DCEU anymore. Just like all this bullshit they're doing right now. Horrible. So Paul DeGarabedian, senior analyst, media analyst at Comscore, talks about that. Unfortunately, countless spin-offs, sequels, universes in both big screen and small screen iterations, and at times unclear marketing messages resulted in mixed critical and fan reaction, resulting in disappointing box office results for some of Marvel's recent big offerings. And remember, there was so much going on with the Marvel movies, where this particular movie, the Marvels, had so much reshooting and all this other stuff going on, a lot of things maligning this particular performance. So people are going to get to see a shit show. It's going to be like Morbius, like all over again. How bad is that going to be? Like I am shocked, stunned, and mortified on what this is going to be like. But I'm going to watch a train wreck tomorrow. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm going to go watch a train wreck. It's going to be probably kind of fun. What can I say? Okay, let's move along into some radio news. We're going to get into that now. SiriusXM, they had a presentation, and CEO Jennifer Wentz spoke with the Hollywood Reporter, saying the company's betting on a new app, serving as a new complementary audio service to other offerings. They're going to lower their price, reboot to take on streaming music rivals with a human-curated focus. So this is what they're playing. A next generation of subscribers, a focal point of SiriusXM's strategy, and they're going to shift the company's streaming strategy from being a complement to the in-the-car offering, something more compelling in its own right. So Jennifer Witt says that we have a lot of our consumers, subscribers streaming today outside of the car, and the Apple's original design basically as a companion to what you have in the car. This is really our first chance to nail something that stands on its own, be a real complementary audio service to whatever other music service you might have, because of the breadth of content we have. So the company rolled out a new platform, a number of new deals at an event in New York City. And Witt says that fundamental shifts in the marketplace have created a paradox of choice and a result in a growing consumer demand for human-curated audio. So they're going to offer now their service for the all-access streaming service at $9.99 a month. $9.99 a month. And that's $1 less than before. It's undercutting streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music, adopting $10.99. And also makes SiriusXM a good complement to those services. The new platform is sleeker, faster, with an effort to combine algorithmically driven new suggestions with human-created channels and playlists. And the new streaming app will launch December 14th, with the in-the-car experience rolling out next year. So James Corden's getting a talk show on SiriusXM? Ugh. Oh boy, that just gave me bile. Let me take a quick swig of water for that. That just really got me wrong. Why is he getting a talk show? I'm sorry. I don't like that. SiriusXM is going to have a new Kelly Clarkson channel. And she's hoping to go and do some content where she's going to go live on the channel at random moments from her house. And other new channels will be offerings created by John Mayer, a true crime channel led by Audio Chuck's Ashley Flowers, year-round channels from Shaggy and Smokey Robinson, and a limited time channel from Dolly Parton. See, this is the kind of stuff I can't stand with SiriusXM. All these celebrity deal channels. I hate these things. I really do. It sucks. SiriusXM Chief Content Officer Scott Greenstein also spoke with Hollywood Reporter and said that what you saw today is a little bit of it. A really diverse set of genres, brands, personalities of all walks of life, of all different types. And we do that because we want people to have what they want. We want people to have what they think they want. We want people to have what they don't know yet they might want. I'm sorry, that's kind of a word salad right there. And by the way, SiriusXM has cut a deal with Hilton Hotels to make their content available in the chain's hotel rooms, and Amazon's Audible to bring its streaming audio content to SiriusXM, and some SiriusXM content to Audible subscribers. And by the way, I cut my Audible subscription because Spotify's already going to offer audiobooks, so I don't need Audible. I'm going to let it go. And I did. Now, SiriusXM. Hey, guys, I got an idea for you. Sounds pretty smart. SiriusXM, you want to get it into some people to really sample it and try it out? How about some airlines? Take it over to the JetBlue or United. You know, that'd be a good idea. People got time. People got time on the airlines to listen. So how about putting it there? That's a pretty good idea. So let's go into radio. So third quarter numbers have come out for the two major radio companies in the country. Let's go to iHeart first. They see strong indications of sequential quarter four improvement. Improvement as quarter three revenues decline 3.6%. I mean, what are you trying to do here, man? What kind of bullshit is this? iHeartMedia. So the revenues declined 3.6%, slightly better than its earlier guidance of down mid-single digits. No political ad sales. Revenues were down 1%. But they're confident and see strong indications of the fourth quarter will continue the trend of sequentially quarterly improvement. The Digital Audio Group continues to outperform the company as a whole. Revenues up 5.2%. But again, it's not enough to go and overcome the radio sector that is just tanking. Multi-Platform Group broadcast revenue declined 6.1% due to lower spot revenue, a decrease in political advertising, and offset by an increase in trade and barter revenues. Yep. Audio and media services revenue from the Katz Media Group, the rep firm, fell 20.3%, with most of the loss coming from non-recurring political ad sales. Yeah, nobody's putting money on political ads. What? Bob Pittman had to go in and talk and says our digital audio group's performance reflects the strong flow through characteristics of the business, and podcasting continues to be a strong growth engine for the company. While the multi-platform group does continue to be impacted by advertising industry uncertainty, we've seen sequential gradual quarter, whatever bullshit. And iHeart now has $213 million of cash on hand. Total available liquidity, $6.25 million. But by the way, there's still $5 billion in debt. $5.2 million in debt. Odyssey, they just got delisted for the New York Stock Exchange. It's a pink stock now. It's a pink stock. OTC markets. They form a community focused on restructuring. Revenues declined 5.6% in quarter 3. I'll tell you what, man. Company is in constructive conversations with its lenders as it works to recapitalize the company and chart a path where what have become choppy financial waters. The company didn't make an $18 million loan interest payment that was due September 30th, and it has $632 million in debt coming due November 2024. Odyssey says lenders last week extended their grace period before which missed payments are classified as an event of default from 3 business days to 11. And as of September 30th, they had $57.5 million in the bank. What? Do you hear this shit? Do you hear how stupid this all sounds? Odyssey's David Field says they're establishing a strong financial footing as it works out new debt arrangements and positioning the company to capitalize effectively on growth opportunities. He says, quote, notwithstanding current challenges, Odyssey has a strong position scaled as a leading platform audio content and entertainment company. They're not talking about the radio part. They're talking about podcasting. Why do these companies, are they allowed to continue to hold the terrestrial radio hostage? They own so many thousands of stations as it is. Why are they allowed to continue doing this? By the way, the ad market. Oh, it's the ad market. It's the ad market. And, they're just going along. It just doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, I know. I get pissed off at this and I get upset because I'm like, well, this keeps happening. I don't like it. NPR and Edison Research released an annual spoken word audio report. Spoken word audience size now and listening time attain record highs. Almost half, or approximately 135 million people, those 13 years and older, listen to some type of spoken word audio daily. That's up 2% from last year. And listeners in the U.S. spend 31% of their daily audio time with spoken word, 55% increase. So yeah, podcasting, audiobooks, people are listening more than ever. And listening at home has grown dramatically. Listening in a car has shifted post-pandemic. AM, FM radio remains on top. Yeah, right. Just because it's not as easy to go ahead and hit your Bluetooth on and go and switch, some people will just go ahead and be lazy, just put on AM, FM because it's just convenient. But no, not me. No. Podcasts now represent over 1/3 of spent time with spoken word audio. 20% are spent listening to podcasts going to NPR Public Radio. 40% of spoken word audio listening goes to podcasts. There we go. And one other story I'll bring up here, we're going to keep it short. The priorities. And Sean Ross at radioinside.com brings a story about fixing radio. What are your priorities? So he talked to a whole bunch of broadcasters. So addressing younger listeners of broadcasters, here are some quotes from some of the folks that are here. Tony Lorino, Throwback Nation, says, quote, research and build content appeals to younger audiences. They love audio. They just don't know enough about radio. We're just listening to the delusional radio folks that are talking about this. They're talking out of their ass. Rob Creighton, who's running Town Square Media Cluster in Sedalia, Missouri. I'd love to get a hold of an underperforming FM somewhere, get a bunch of young people who love radio and listen to what they have to say. WEEI Boston, KJ Carson says, quote, young people can be into anything under the sun, but they will gravitate to personality if they feel understood. Dave Dyer, record industry veteran. I've spoken to so many top 40 PDs that have no idea who the number one influencer is at each of their 3 biggest local high schools. Why not? You think that's going to work? These people really don't know what they're talking about. Paul Kriegler with Omnia says radio should have listened to Jeff Pollock in 1999 when he pleaded with cluster managers to take the lowest performing worst signals in markets and target teens. And then how about live and local for real? Some people are talking about that. WHBC Long Island's New York's Sean Novat says, quote, "We need fewer syndicated shows and more personalities who are all live and local, who are allowed to speak longer between songs." Okay, that's good. Rob Moorhead of In-Store Village Radio, formerly New Jersey's WDHA, quote, "The jocks need to be local ambassadors of the brand, not a voice from another station 800 miles away." There's others. Another one, this is not a bad one, John Parker. "Stop trying to have one national playlist. America is much too diverse for that. Radio worked much better when it played the songs relevant in their individual markets." True. How about paying the staff? Don Zagirer, a former Pennsylvania broadcaster, says stations need to care about their on-air personalities with higher wages. It says you're not that important and can be replaced by voice tracking. I think we've lost many wonderful personalities because they can't pay their mortgages. And a lot of people have left. Just abandoned radio because they can't make money. Doesn't matter how much we love it. That's why I'm not there. There's more. There's a lot going to, but there's other things they talk about here about a 6-point plan. Joy 96 boosts radio's St. Louis PD Mike Couchman. He says, number 1, unleash dominant personalities in our DJs. Uncommodify the music, reconnect the DJs to it. 120 spins a week or so on so-so songs doesn't build cume, no matter what TikTok says. Bring the spin counts back to earth. Celebrate the jocks whose excitement about the music rubs off on the listeners. Get out in the community, make friends. Rehab paid remotes to be actual destinations worthy of a listener's time instead of a low engagement money grab. Actually have enough talent to pull any of this off and pay them fairly so they don't have to hold down 2 of the jobs just to read your generic, national, unengaging keyword text contest. Fix spot loads and spot quality. Ask yourself and ask your team regularly, how can we surprise and delight our listeners today? It's so much to try to fix radio. It can be done, but then you'd have to try to get that audience to go ahead and come back to something. These people and these ideas, hey, Sean Ross, thanks for doing all the legwork here, but these people don't get it. They don't understand. They don't get what they're doing and how to get this done. All right, well, we'll leave it there. That's how we're going to go into it. That's the show for tonight. And I thank all of you for catching the program. I said I'm going to go watch the Marvels this weekend. We'll see how that kind of a train wreck that's going to turn out. I'm curious to see how it turns out, and it should be fun to watch. Let's see what kind of crowd's going to come out there for an all-female led Marvel movie. I'm curious about it, but I'm going to stick around and find out what it is. kingofpodcasts.com. That's where you find all of my content. You'll see clips, of course, on social media, and you'll find me over King of Podcasts at King of Podcasts, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Also remember, you can find all this content on the YouTube channel at King of Podcasts. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next week, remember that content is king and the control of your content is in your hands.